really serves a purpose.
There are people out there who just can't get to a hospital. Instead, we can get to them.
It has been a year since I've been to the doctor. With this new program, the doctor can monitor what's going on with me from my home.
The beauty of this is that we can remotely transmit health data to the doctor.
The data will come to me, and then I can then look at that and act on those numbers that the Moped Medical is giving me real time, which is so valuable.
This is a city where the impossible comes true.
We had a big launch event to thank everybody who voted for us.
Cannot express how thankful I am for everyone in this room.
It's a dream come true.
So now that y'all seen video of 2 award-winning ideas, does anyone have any good ideas? Well, okay. It just goes to show you that everyday people, you don't have to have the PhD. I mean, it helps, but you don't have to have the PhD to, do this Moped Medical thing. You can, just take your ideas and run with them. And the fact that Pepsi saw this in their audience is absolutely astonishing. And the fact that they took this big of a risk is something really to, commend them for. So, to wrap it all up, this was a really innovative public relations campaign, and it really did touch the lives, not just of the 10,000 projects that, happened, but the lives of so many more people, beyond that, the secondary audience and all that. And, without this big risk, there wouldn't be Moped Medical, there wouldn't be the helicopters that Stuart made. And so. Does anyone have any questions?
Open it up for some discussion.
With the Moped Medical, did they have to have, were they doctors too, or?
I don't think that the moped people were doctors. I think they were just volunteers who would, visit them. Yeah, I guess they were doctors.
Most likely at some sort of medical training.
Maybe they weren't doctors, but maybe they were students, nurses.
We did some
I don't think we did
research on
IVs.
Bo, and he studied at Yale.
But there were so many examples throughout this project. I know you were questioning. Whether or not you had to be a PhD student. No, you didn't. There were 11-year-olds that were submitting for these grants and winning grants to create a cheer squad for special needs kids at their school, or just anything to create safer school buses. You didn't have to be a genius to submit for it.
And that was their big thing, is they wanted to reach the everyday people. As they talked about earlier on in the Optimism program, they liked ideas that came from their inner circle of people. So.
And they said they didn't just look for the people that had these world-changing ideas that would touch on the biggest problem in the communities. They said every now and then they just wanted to bring some smiles, with the cheer squad. There's probably other issues that community was facing, but they just wanted to bring some smiles to these kids. They tried to do a little bit of everything. Yeah, they touched on some big issues like healthcare in New Orleans, but they also touched on a couple of smaller things that aren't as huge in the communities. Or
there was also a community that asked for new marching band uniforms for the high school, and they got a grant. So just small things with great love.
So let's talk about this. So as a follow-up to the campaign, what did they do to promote the projects once they were selected, and are they still promoting them today? Is the
To
question.
promote the individual projects?
Right. Once the grants were given, and we just
What
saw
did
that
Pepsi
video.
do,
Right.
or
What
what
did Pepsi
did
do?
the participants do? I don't really think that. I think Pepsi gave them the money and.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm asking. Are they still
they
following
made
them
the
today?
videos for
Yeah, they have.
they're all posted on
there's
YouTube.
There were so many videos. I know
Hundreds of
there's a video
videos.
overload here, but
There was hundreds of videos of every single participant, and I guess they kind of made that as a follow-up. But I mean, it's not like they're gonna keep giving them money. They gave them their
I think it
star.
was a one-time thing.
Right. No, I get that the campaign ended. They stopped giving them money, but part of this would be that kind of stewardship then, and
Right.
following up with those people who received the grants to promote the project and the good that was done.
Yeah.
Well,
I know you talked about how they pulled their Super Bowl ads to focus on this refresh project, but did they run success stories either on a lot of the success stories either on TV or even in the Super Bowl, as just commercials, besides just on YouTube?
I didn't come across any of that in my research.
there were success stories run on news outlets locally, nationally, all over the country. I don't know. What do you mean by at the Super Bowl?
I mean, they pulled, if you pull from Super Bowl, it's like, oh, why, everybody probably like, oh, why they pull from Super Bowl?
Well,
Why
that's
research
another
this
thing.
project?
That's
And then
what
if you,
helped with their like biggest talked about.
Well, they tried to
brands,
create
because they
a media buzz about that, and they did. Like, I think before the Super Bowl came about, people knew why, and the word was out there, like, people knew what they were doing.
And
with
remember
that.
the point the group made at the beginning when Haley was talking about research, is that their research, right, part of that, the process of starting the campaign showed that, I can't remember what the number was, but like 60% of their audience was frustrated with the amount of money that companies were putting into traditional marketing, so things like advertising during the Super Bowl. Their target audience wasn't supportive of that, so they brilliantly used that research finding to develop this unique campaign.
I just didn't know if they kind
Yeah.
of like had a commercial like, oh, we're back, this is what we did.
Right, you mean, are they back now in the Super Bowl? That's a good
Like,
question.
we're back, and
I
I'm sure
think they
this is why we
Yeah.
want it.
I think they're back to traditional advertising at this
Yeah.
point.
They were the most talked about, one of the most talked about companies at the Super Bowl because they weren't in it. So everyone was wondering what they
Yeah,
were doing.
regardless of that. So although they didn't have an ad, they still created so much like buzz throughout the
And
At
this
least
is another one.
Stewart, you said Stewart worked with the marketing company. Do you know if Pepsi paid for him to market that idea? That
was
would kind of
his-
like help us.
That was in his grant.
Yeah. So he probably.
I have no idea. I think it was
part of
him,
the
yeah.
money.
And it might
part
have
of
been
the
something the
grant
marketing
to
companies
market
wanted
it,
to
so-
do.
So Pepsi did
Right.
help them get their ideas out there by marketing.
Yeah, like I remember whenever he was whenever he was coming, like they were all so excited that he was coming to use them for his marketing because he had won this
And
grant.
this is just too another case that reminds us, you know, this campaign wouldn't have been successful 10, 15 years ago. Why not?
Because there was no social media.
Right.
That was
This is
their
a
main
campaign
source.
that needs social
Yeah,
media. And
that's
if you think about some of the smart things that they did you see when you could log in? You could log in with your Facebook account. So you were automatically connected there to your social media
And they
channel.
also included, like, you could immediately share it after voting, like a direct link to Facebook and Twitter.
And the
It even
hashtag.
had like the tweet already like made up that, you know, like detailed what it was for, what it was.
And again, the second part of that, thinking about social media, and just take note of this, it's a really important aspect of what made the campaign successful. Once someone uploaded an idea and shared it through social media, they were promoting not just their own idea, but the Pepsi Refresh project as a whole. So again, that idea of the groundswell of audiences is reaching each other and
Right.
mobilizing. Really good case of thinking about that.
Something about the like Super Bowl ads, like, remember they like obviously showed the Britney Spears one, and I know there was like the Mariah Carey one, but then they go back to like the traditional Super Bowl ad, like, is it the Elton John commercial? Was that this past Super Bowl maybe? Like, they went back to
But the
their
X
traditional
Factor, they've been doing more, because now when you win X Factor, you are gonna be featured in the Super Bowl Pepsi ad. So that's why they started doing,
Yeah, they've not.
that's a new campaign that they're
Yeah,
doing.
they've gone back to their more traditional way of advertising.
I was curious what it was.
Not doing too much.
Is that like duel now? Like Drew Brees was dueling against
Yeah.
someone. Was that Pepsi?
Yeah, that was Pepsi. 'Cause
Pepsi?
it was like a thing that, because One Direction or whatever
Yeah.
won the X Factor in England or
Okay.
whatever, so that's why they are in all the commercials too.
Did you have a question, Dr.
Yeah,
Broussard?
can I ask a question? I'm just wondering about sustainability and whether this might be interpreted as a gimmick in view of the fact that Pepsi made this big deal about not spending so much money on a Super Bowl ad, and now you're saying it went back to the Super Bowl.
Right.
So you're sure it went back?
Yeah,
Perhaps it
they're
went
back to their traditional. It's no
So what do you
longer-
think that does to Pepsi's credibility then? Even though it built a lot of goodwill by this campaign, but it seemed to have been a one-time thing and might be perceived as gimmicky. So what are your thoughts?
Well-
I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm sure that there is some question in their credibility, but I'm also sure that some people do, especially those who are specifically affected by it, do remember that good and like will remain loyal to the brand regardless. Like I don't think that they would be expected every year for the rest of their existence to just give away these huge grants. Like, you know, what they did was good, but I don't think they could.
It kind of stinks that they did start taking that same money. We know that they still have that same
Right.
$20 million budget,
Yeah.
but now they're just using it. They went back to using it for that, and it's like, oh, it's still there in space. I like what you're doing here a lot better than what you-
Maybe
Yeah.
they'll